You asked about the schedule. They said 16 to 18 patients a day. You asked about charting time. They said it's built in. You asked about the bonus, and the way they described it, it sounded reachable. Every one of those was a good answer, and you took the job on the strength of those answers. You gave notice to your old job. You told your family where you were going to be working. You were relieved to be walking into this new job. And the first workday, the template says 24, and there is no admin time anywhere on your calendar. And the bonus turns out to run on numbers that no one ever mentioned to you in the interview. Here's the part that's genuinely hard to sit with. Probably nobody lied to you. I'm Candace Elam, and this is part 9 of The Job Behind the Offer. And this is the last one in the series. It's about the difference between an answer and a term. I want to walk through why this happens, because the story you'll tell yourself later is that you got played, and that story is usually wrong, and it'll make you worse at this, not better. 3 reasons, and none of them require anyone to be the villain of this story. The person who told you all that stuff, they leave. The one who sat across from you and promised you a staged ramp up is not necessarily the one managing you a year from now. Hiring managers move on. Medical directors get promotions. Administrators reorganize. And the new person who inherits your signed contract, they did not inherit the conversation that they weren't in and never heard about. Memory diverges. 6 months in, your recollection is admin time is built into the schedule, and theirs is we will try to talk about protecting some admin time at a later time. Those are not the same sentence, and there's no record of it anywhere to settle the dispute. So it's not necessarily a dodge. Two honest people can walk out of the same 20-minute conversation holding different agreements, and both of them are telling the truth as they remembered it. And then there's a question of authority, and this is the biggest one. The person interviewing you often did not have the power to make promises to you. The daily template, the bonus formula, the panel, the blocked time on your schedule, those are set by finance, by operations, by the scheduling build, not by the nurse practitioner who is interviewing you and taking you on a tour of the facility, who was being warm and who was being honest with you. They told you what they hoped would be true. The systems that actually run your pay and run your calendar never heard that conversation. And underneath all 3 is the mechanism that lets it go unnoticed. You are an exempt salaried employee, which means that your pay is fixed no matter how the day actually runs. So when the template drifts away from your 18 and goes into 24, nothing anywhere in the organization corrects for it. There's no overtime that tips at hour 41. So that extra work lands in your evenings and in your Saturdays, and the books upstairs in finance look just as they did before. The only thing that holds a limit in place is what you're putting in writing before you signed. And that is the whole reason why this episode exists. Most of the reason nurse practitioners don't do this has nothing to do with information. You know the promise should be written down, but you freeze anyway because those words that demand it feels presumptuous. So let me reframe what you're actually doing. You're not asking for more than you deserve. You're not even talking about salary alone in most cases. You are securing the conditions that let the work be done inside of the scheduled business hours. A practice that books a full day of revenue generating visits and sets aside no protected time for the documentation that those visits create has built a job that requires you to finish that work after hours by default. This is not an accident. It's not a workflow that you can outrun. Negotiating for protected administrative time, a real ramp up, a defined daily number, that is negotiating whether the job fits inside the hours that the company is paying you for. You're not requesting a favor. You're just talking about getting specific on the terms. And you're not negotiating from charity either. You're negotiating from need, and that need is mutual. You generate revenue from your first billable encounter. They have an open seat, and a failed hire costs them recruiting time, lost revenue, and having to do this whole process again with new people. and two parties with real needs deciding on whether the terms work, that is the negotiation. They negotiated every clause in the contract before it ever reached you with their own attorneys on their own time for their protection, and you are entitled to negotiate after that contract reaches you. That's not aggression. That's just the other half of a normal process. And that last piece, which I find helps most people with, protection runs both ways. Most terms in a contract protect the practice, and each one of them is reasonable on its own. A non-compete protects their patient panel. A long notice period protects them from a hard transition. A clawback protects their recruiting investment. A moonlighting restriction protects them from divided attention. Fine, those are real interests. What makes a contract balanced isn't that the practice stops protecting itself. It's that that same document protects you too. Symmetric notice instead of one-sided notice. A floor under your hours alongside that restriction for outside work. An exit right that you also hold. You're not refusing to let them protect themselves. You are asking that the agreement protects the both of you. And that's a very different conversation than the one that many people are having when they're entering into these contracts. Now, I've got something I want to give you. It's called Get It in Writing. It's a checklist of what should be on the paper before you sign. It's built exactly from the pattern that I opened with, the good answer that never made it into the document. This checklist is free and it's linked in the description below. So here's the move. It's 3 steps and it's not complicated. Number 1, ask in writing. Number 2, get the answer in writing. Number 3, confirm that it actually landed in the contract that you're signing. That third one is the piece that often drops off, and it's the one that matters the most. An agreed change that never made it into the final document is not an agreement. It's a nice email. You have to go back and check the signature copy against what you were told, line by line, before your name goes on it. And if that isn't in the document, it isn't in your job. This is not cynicism. This is the exact discipline that you already have. If it isn't in the chart, it didn't happen. You believe that about your clinical work since your first semester of nursing school, and it's just as true about the terms of your employment, but nobody ever told you to apply it here. Not documented, not done. So what goes on the list? Categories, not a script. The daily number, what happens on a short-staffed day, a heavy day, a day with 3 walk-ins, admin time, how much, and what it's protected from, both directions, patients and meetings. Orientation, how long, and with whom, by name, who's responsible for your orientation. Anything that was called a perk in that interview room, the half of a weekday off, the stipend, the remote working block. It was warm, it was specific, it made you feel good, and it needed to be on paper because warm and specific is exactly the category of promises that evaporate when they're not put on paper. Any bonus, the formula, a sample calculation. If a bonus can't be shown to you as arithmetic, it's not a bonus, it's a vibe, it's a mood. And anything about scope, population, acuity, a service line that you might be expected to staff, and that is the list. What each request should actually say and how to put them all in one professional message instead of a half a dozen anxious emails, and what to write back when they say, oh, that's standard, or that's boilerplate. That's in the negotiation letters kit, and I'll come back to that. One more thing, because it doesn't end at your signature. Most terms you negotiate get kept. Some of them erode quietly. When they promise you a weekday off and it becomes a full day, when they promise you administrative time and then it gets filled up with patient visits and meetings, when that 18 patient visits creeps up to 24 1 week at a time, when that starts to happen, the move is the same as the one you just practiced. It's not catching your manager at their desk and mentioning it to them, which leaves no record and is easy to forget and even easier to deny. It's a short professional email that says what was agreed to, what's happening instead, and what you're asking to change. Different leverage once you're inside the job, different risk, same discipline. It should already be yours before you walk in on day 1, which is exactly why you know to build it now at the offer when it costs you nothing. The in-roll version of that correspondence gets its own kit, and I'm building it now. So that's the series. There have been 9 of these. The offer letter is not the job. You are interviewing too. There's a schedule behind the schedule, and somebody handles the work that your visits create. And if nobody does, it's you at 9 p.m. on a Thursday evening. Then there's the number of hands on your day, and that is about the job design, not a comment on your delegation skills or how fast you are. And your salary is a number divided by hours, and you should know which hours. And then there's your license in that room and whether something is standing in for it or not. And the offer letter is not the contract, and a good answer in an interview is not a term. That's a lot of parts, but they collapse into one idea, and I'd like you to leave with it. A job you can leave at the office is baseline. It's not a unicorn. It's not a reward for being fast enough or being grateful enough or being willing enough. It's about the job design. Some employers build it and some do not. That was decided before your interview was ever scheduled. Your job is to find out what you're looking at while you still have the leverage to do something about it. If you want to know what to ask for and the words won't come, that is what the negotiation letters kit is for. They are send-ready wording for every item worth raising in your contract, built to be reasonable and specific and easy for an employer to say yes to. The whole thing assembles into one message. It includes what to write back when they push. It includes a checklist to confirm the agreed change actually made it into the signed document. It's called the NP Negotiation Letters Kit, and it's linked in the description below. If you're at the very start of this or you want the whole map in one place, I've got a video for that too, and it's linked below. Come and find me in Beyond the Chart. It is our private Facebook group only for medical providers, and that's where we talk about these things. Your employer gets their 40 hours, so make sure you get yours.